My entitled wife went from owning an airplane to miserably living in a crappy house, losing her all friends and financially depending on her parents after she betrayed me and got caught cheating with her flight instructor and falsely claimed I abused her to her parents and my commander to ruin my life. Now she is a shell of her previous self while I'm thriving in my life. My wife, 28 of 2 years, has done a complete 180 in the past few weeks. She went from someone who was loving, focused on starting a family, and completely trustworthy to someone who has lied, deceived me, and blames me for her infidelity. It all started 3 weeks ago. I was riding high. I thought our relationship was going great. We were talking about getting another dog and our honeymoon plans since COVID wrecked the initial plans. Then Friday hit. I could sense something was up and even mentioned it to my mother on the phone. I don't know what's going on. I just have a bad feeling about my wife, I said. Then that night she texted me. I just need some space tonight. I know you won't like it, but please respect my decision. She then proceeded to turn off her phone, and she says she slept in her car in a vacant lot. When she came home, I was understanding but stern that this sort of thing could never happen again. But she had completely changed her mindset on life itself, no kids, career-focused, and wanting out of the relationship. The most telling thing she said was, "I fear that we will cheat on each other in the future." What? Who says something like that? Completely out of the blue. Many things happened since then, including her leaving the state for 2 weeks because she needed space. Last night, I found that she had spent the night at her instructor's house after going to a movie theater. I also found pictures of both of them. The worst part is I was the one who encouraged her in this career, and she never would have met the guy if I didn't introduce them. I have yet to confront her, but I am currently putting all the puzzle pieces together about this whole situation. She is basically blaming me for all these issues that we are suddenly dealing with, saying she doesn't like the way I talk to her. I'm controlling, and I call her names. I have done deep soul searching these past few weeks to try and understand what I could have done to cause this. But her accusations are unfounded. I encouraged her to get mental health, which in her mind equated to calling her names. I stressed the importance of communication when she shut off her phone, but she says that is controlling, even though I didn't stop her from spending 3+ weeks away from home. Finally, she has these recordings of me without my knowledge and thinks that they are proof that I am mentally abuse her. I played these for my counselor, and he disagreed that there was any sort of abuse in the recordings and was actually impressed with how calm and collected I was in the discussion. Anyways, none of these things are excuses for cheating and the way she has been treating me. I guess I am at the investigation stage still, trying to let her make her own choices, and I'll gather the data. It's tough, though, and the person I once loved more than anything has completely wrecked our entire life together in 3 short weeks. I'm at a loss for words how I feel right now. I've got a great support system and loving parents, but now I know how heartbreak feels, and I never want to feel this way again. Update. Above is the link to my story. TLDR. My wife of 1.5 years has been cheating on me with her flight instructor. I've done some deep soul searching and realized that it's because I didn't emotionally give in when she pleaded to take out a $50,000 loan so she could pursue an aviation career. Obviously, Mr. Instructor gave in to her emotional side, and I have evidence of the affair now. Update on me. I had a very rough weekend, and it was tough being alone and without family present to help heal. But I had some great phone conversations with friends and family who are all incredibly angry at her selfish actions. I'm down almost 10 pounds, having a hard time eating, and it is tough to get out of bed in the mornings. However, I'm keeping myself busy by working out and playing with my dog a lot. The first time I actually broke down was when she asked what we should do with our dog. He's been my only consoling partner through it all, and I can't see him with her. One of the things that really helped was to see people angry than me when I told them about the affair. All in all, I'm actually doing well, and I understand it's all part of the grief process. It helps to know that I value myself, know that it's not my fault, and not compare myself to the other guy. She is coming home this week with her parents to take her stuff out of the house. She already said she wants out of the marriage. I do too. I still have yet to confront her about the affair, and I am racking my brain trying to think of the words in place to say it. Do I do it in front of her parents? Do I do it with her alone? Do I spill out my heart? Or do I say a simple, "I know what you are doing"? Ultimately, it is up to me and my decision, but what has worked and not worked in the past for everyone here. At it, we are not in an at-fault state update. So this is my third update about the situation. I want to thank everyone here for helping immensely. I was alone for weeks, but this sub has really helped me out, and it has been very helpful to follow the advice of everyone here. TLDR. Finally had a discussion with my wife, but she insisted her parents be in the room. We talked, and she was nasty to me and showed not one bit of remorse or empathy, even when I broke down, spilling my heart out to her. The next day, she went to my house, and I finally was able to be alone with her. I confronted her about the inappropriate relationship. She again got her parents involved, and her mom defended the affair with ridiculous excuses. Currently no contact with her, but I have seen a change read more at the end. The shift has happened. I went 180 on her after I found out about the affair, and she has started to flounder. Her parents came in town last Wednesday, and I finally was able to get her to have a discussion with me. I decided against revealing the affair with her parents in the room, but I caught her in multiple lies in our discussion. My tone was calm and very apologetic for the things she accused me of. The discussion was very hurtful, as she was essentially saying, ever since the day we got married, I haven't treated her right. And she has wandered out. She never mentioned this to me, our entire relationship until now. She continued to accuse me of essentially emotionally abusing her by twisting my words from our previous discussions. And luckily my mother was there. And my mom ended up calling her out on her lies because my mom was in some of those discussions she was referencing. The two biggest things that kept me strong through that discussion were 1, not expecting any sort of reconciliation or remorse, 2, having a plan of attack for the encounter. My goals in that discussion were twofold. Publicly in front of her parents reveal how childish and mentally unfit she is when she is making these wild accusations while protecting my character. Stress to her father, the need to get her to a therapist or counselor, and have her work on her issues. The discussion ended with my wife storming out of the room with her mother, and the father stayed behind with me and my mom. His emotions were genuine and very telling about the whole situation. He sat there, and the first words out of his mouth were a tearful, "I'm sorry, man," a father looking for answers as well. He told me this hurts right now because he considers me his son, and I always will. This obviously made me very emotional as I told him, I love your daughter, and I just want her to be healthy, but at this point I just need to let her go. I told him about the affair and what I knew, and he understood where I was coming from. I stressed the need for her to have consequences for her actions, as she has had none so far. Even further, I stressed the need for her to see a therapist. He said he agreed, and that he has been trying to get her to go, to no avail. Because of my two goals above, even though this discussion was not all peaches, it satisfied what I went there to do, and I actually felt much better knowing that I had a father-in-law who understood what was going on. Then the next day came. I went home from work, and my wife was moving some of her things out of the house. I wanted to be there so that I could make sure she didn't steal anything of mine. I actually fixed a part on her car, and we had a calm talk about her future plans, etc. She told me she was going to keep working for how much time she has left the job. I can't believe they are keeping her around. She said she is going to try and earn her ratings and wants to become a flight instructor. Wonder why law. I asked where she was going to live. She said, an RV park, and my parents are going to give me their RV. At this point, I told her, I just don't understand why you are doing all this. It doesn't make any sense. She said, I'm just so happy at the place where she works. I then asked, I just want to know, are you having an inappropriate relationship with a fair partner? Wouldn't look me in the eye and said, no, of course not. I told her I knew and had evidence. I mentioned a couple of events. What were you doing last Wednesday night? Who did you talk to for 90 minutes at 11 p.m. when you were at a bachelorette party in June? I then showed her one call record, and she actually openly showed me it was a fair partner's number in her phone by typing it out. She kept deflecting the accusation. I didn't have sex. Check my vagina. Don't even like SX, she does. He works weird hours, see. Had a question about flying. I stayed strong and calm and told her it gets easier if she tells the truth. I was witnessing a 28-year-old woman acting like a child who was just caught in a lie. The real kicker came when she asked if I wanted to get her parents involved. I questioned why she would do that, but I said okay. Immediately before I even showed any evidence, her mom starts making excuses for her daughter. Maybe it was a dare call, or But this was already after you were having problems, isn't it? No, it wasn't. I calmly said to her mother, can you look at this objectively and tell me there was no inappropriate relationship going on? Her mom refused to answer and said I was trying to manipulate her into saying something just like I manipulated her daughter. When they ran out of excuses, all three of them stormed out of my house, and her mom said, I hope you don't treat the next girl like you did my daughter. And then literally said, mic drop, what a screwed up family dynamic. Her dad said nothing the whole time, and I could see he is absolutely beside himself in dealing with both of them. Eventually, my wife sent a text to me saying, a fair partner is one of my very best friends. I was really hurting, and we were separated at the time, though we weren't. Basically admitting to the cheating, she said she wants to talk with me about it with her lawyer in the room. I told her that I wouldn't recommend getting lawyers involved, seeing as she has committed multiple felonies by recording me without my consent. I haven't talked to her since Thursday, but the dynamics of the situation have been hugely shifted, and I couldn't have done it without the help of everyone on here. The last thing I mentioned, and it is probably pretty helpful in terms of where to go next. I noticed Sunday morning she went to church. She hasn't gone with me in a while. But we used to go all the time and then took about a 500-mile drive to nowhere and then went back to her Airbnb. She hasn't had any suspicious activity either out of caution now or realization of her transgressions. I do actually believe the fact that she didn't have a sex, but it doesn't matter because I already have enough info and don't need any more. I have already filed for divorce, and she will be getting served within a week or two. 2 questions for how to handle the no contact. I would like to stay civil. I have been in no contact, but should I reach out to her to have a discussion about our assets? I would like to, and I think she might be capable of a civil discussion. It would benefit both of us in lawyer fees and costs. If you have seen some of my previous posts, you might see that I think there is definitely some sort of mental illness with her, as she has suffered multiple serious traumas in her past. If she ends up apologizing at some point or changes her behavior, how can I go about getting her help while also protecting myself? She currently has health care through my job. Without it, she will not have health care. Update. So I've been talking to family and friends a lot over this period. And one of my second cousins, who I am really close to, offered an interesting perspective. Basically, cheaters cheat because they are jealous of you and your success/attractiveness/charisma, etc. And they want to take you down a peg because they are insecure about themselves. I think this is true in my scenario. My SDBXW is very attractive, but has always struggled with her identity, holding down a job, and has had self-esteem issues. I never made this an issue and always encouraged her, celebrated her accomplishments, and told her how proud she should be of herself. I felt towards the end of our relationship, she almost pitted herself against me. He or she is on your side. You just don't want me to be better than you. And their bias towards you were all comments she made to me. I assured her that in a marriage, you are a team and make decisions and communicate as a team would. And I'm not against her. Have you guys seen this in your situations? I just wonder why she is going after a much less attractive dude who has a lot of debt and isn't really anything special. Update. I've been in no contact with my SDBXW since about Thursday, the 5th of August, basically 2 weeks. Since this time, she has been served the divorce paperwork and responded via her lawyer. However, yesterday she tried contacting me, notifying me she knew how I found out about the affair. I did not and have not done anything illegal to catch her, and it must be driving her crazy that I have been no contact, and she doesn't know how much info I know. She then threatened me, basically saying that if I don't tell her, she will call the police me commander. I'm in the military. This is a hollow threat because I have nothing to hide, and I know it. However, I am concerned that she would mention this because I really don't want my career affected by this malicious person. I've contacted my lawyer and will give him a call later today, asking how to proceed. This morning, she sent another message asking for $1,000 for spousal support as well. I think she is trying to scare me into giving her money, but I know she is working a job and they are paying her currently. I also know she is staying at the house of the man she cheated on me with. Anyways, I'm staying strong gray rock when contact is necessary and no contact everywhere else. I seriously think she may be a sociopath who feels absolutely no remorse about what she did and is frustrated that she has been caught in multiple lies. It also may just be the anger stage of grief as well. It all helps me to forget her faster and realize I'm better off without her. Update. Alright, since the last update, I have had some good times and some sad times. However, day by day life gets better, and I'm looking forward to my new life. It's been almost a month since D-Day. Luckily, I will be moving out of state soon and beginning an exciting new job, so I can start fresh onto the update. The good news: the threats and blackmail have stopped. You can read about those in my last update here. The bad news: she unblocked me on text and wants to see our dog at a local dog park. This was one of the things I told her I would be willing to let her do, and I don't want to stir the pot anymore for fear of more threats of calling the cops me working. Why do I say it's bad news? Well, the no contact has been working great so far. I've been hanging out with friends, focusing on myself, and really getting better each day. Once I agreed to let her see our dog in a gray rock manor, the feelings started coming back. What if she wants to come back? Maybe she is realizing her mistake. Is she going to apologize? So I went pain shopping a bit, found her entire search history on our shared computer, and honestly, I didn't find what I was expecting. Throughout the last year or so, there were a ton of searches for stuff like, why do I shut down? Is Sway selfish? And how to date a girl who has been RD. I was expecting a ton of searches for stuff pertaining to the affair, which maybe she deleted. I don't know, but instead it was incredibly sad to see where her mind was. What is worse is that it took me back to the times when we talked for hours about these issues, and we made so much progress in our relationship. And she developed good coping habits and routines, which she has completely abandoned during this debacle. Of course, after seeing these searches, I felt sad for her and how broken of an individual she must really be. However, it also made me feel sorry for her again, which is directly opposed to this entire process of divorce and cutting off the relationship. I am still doing better than I was before, but now I will likely see her Saturday at the dog park, and I'm confused about how to handle the situation. I do not want to reconcile this relationship at all, but it is incredibly clear that my STBXW is dealing with some serious mental issues that she has not addressed. The sad thing is I know she will not take this divorce well when everything falls apart and she realizes what she gave up on. I hope and pray that she does not take her life. I do know, at this point, there is nothing I can do except continue the no contact/gray rock during necessary contact, as she is not my responsibility anymore. I guess I'm just looking for some support here. It would be a lot easier if she wasn't dealing with these mentalish traumas, and I could just easily break clean, and I would. However, it would be even worse on my conscience if I made no contact, and she ended up becoming self-harming again. Before anyone comments, I know I made a mistake looking at her search history and pain shopping, but the wound is still fresh less than 1 month since D-Day. I have basically blocked myself from going on social media right now, and I still have not been reaching out to her or talking to her at all. I credit this sub for so much in the last month. You all have completely helped me throughout the toughest point in my life, and I am forever grateful. I wish I could give you all a hug in person for helping me through this. If anyone else is dealing with something similar, feel free to reach out. Update. This weekend, I met up with my STBXW at the dog park with our dog. I followed the advice of everyone on here, and my cousin tagged along. Long story short, our dog got attacked by another dog only about 5 minutes into the dog park, and we had to take him to the vet. He is okay, he just lost a nail and was bleeding quite a bit. Anyways, this was probably one of the better things that could have happened because it forced us into a room to talk about things. I have already filed for divorce, and she has already responded, asking for temporary relief and the moon in support. When we finally were in the vet room, I was rocking very hard, giving 1 or 2 word answers and looking generally disinterested. Then she asked about my living plans when I moved to California. I told her I would be living with a mutual friend of ours who had recently been cheated on as well by his fiancée. She wanted to know if the dog would be in a good living situation. I told her he would, and that was when the discussion started about how to move forward. I made her realize that by blocking me and cutting off communication, she had created her own problems that she was projecting onto me. After I asked, she admitted I wasn't this controlling, manipulative, terrible person that she made me out to be, and that she knew I was a good person. I asked her why she didn't go to the counselor with me before I found out about the affair. She said I already made up my mind, and basically no one was going to influence her. The best thing about the discussion was that she agreed to come to an agreement outside of the court with me, and eliminate the temporary relief hearing. She deleted a post about removing toxic people from her life on Instagram, started getting online therapy, went to church, and talked to her family again. I told her that I don't see the marriage as salvageable where we are right now, and she agreed. But she also agreed to be amicable. She knew she wouldn't get a lot in the divorce because of how short our marriage was, and she would rather finish this divorce sooner rather than later for her emotional well-being. I talked to my lawyer, and he said to keep talking to her and keep everything amicable so we can come to an agreement rather than go to court. I am still cautious, and by no means have I given her my trust back at all. However, it does feel good to have her recant many of the nasty and evil things she said about me. It also feels good to have a path forward that doesn't involve a drawn-out divorce process. Anyway, I am trying to balance between being amicable and limiting contact so we can continue along this path. The only time she seemed to get irritable was when I mentioned her indiscretions, so I just stopped and said, "We don't have to talk about it." Also, she recently asked for the dog in the divorce. Earlier on, I was wholly against it because she abandoned him and me both, and made me make sacrifices to care for him while working full-time. However, now I think that she will have to be reminded of our relationship every day with him in the future. I definitely love our dog, and he has been incredible for my emotional health throughout this whole thing, but I know I can be all right without him. Any advice from people who have gone through this divorce process with a WS before? It's clear she still has no remorse, but I think serving her the papers made her wake up to the fact about what is actually happening, and that she needs to deal with it instead of being a child and blocking all communication. Update. This week has been like a breath of fresh air from my situation, but Labor Day weekend was probably my toughest time yet. Last week, I started noticing a change in my dog, now that my STBXW had abandoned us for 2 months. He already had bad separation anxiety, and it was even worse. He chewed the siding on the door and urinated so much it was like a pipe burst in the house when I was gone for about an hour. It was absolutely killing me inside, because he was now feeling the pain of her departure. We originally adopted him with a mutual understanding that since I work full-time and she didn't, she would help out with taking care of him. Then she left and made me make sacrifices to care for him, like taking a long lunch so I could go home and let him out, paying for a dog sitter, etc. To make matters worse, our other pet, a hedgehog, passed away from old age on Sunday. I reached out to her to let her know because he was her pet, and she initially was angry with me, but she also wanted to take care of the dog for a change. Monday, she came over to pick up more of her stuff, bury the hedgehog, and I let her take the dog while I love our dog. It was like a weight was lifted from my shoulders, now that I don't have to worry about his anxiety, and now that she has taken the responsibility to watch him. We had another conversation, and it left me feeling much better. Our conversation. I asked how her teletherapy was going. She said it was tough not speaking to a person face-to-face, so I suggested she seek in-person counseling, as she is still under my health care until the divorce is final. This was the first time I suggested this, and she didn't get angry at me for suggesting it. She even thanked me for the help. We then talked about the whole situation and how I told her I noticed a change in her habits. A couple weeks before she went off the deep end, left, and she did on me wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, had weird dreams, was unable to really have a conversation. She acknowledged that she had these issues, but she was still completely misremembering the sequence of events and order of things that happened. She also looked very bad, cut her hair short, was unhealthily skinny, and just looked dead in the face. I had no attraction at all towards this woman, who used to be gorgeous. From our talk, it was very evident that she now realizes something is wrong with her mentally. She was trying to show emotion at the passing of our hedgehog, but this highly emotional woman, who had no problem crying previously, couldn't even shed a tear. Really, my suspicions were all becoming confirmed, and I was glad to see she was finally attempting to get some help. Our last dialogue went like this. In a few years you will meet someone who is so special, and will be the person you're meant to be with. I just could never be that girl for you. Me. You always were that girl. You just didn't see it in yourself. I didn't know it, but that's what I needed to hear. She is basically telling me that her self-esteem was so low that she thought she didn't deserve me or our lives. That's why she abandoned our life and all the incredible things I provided and went to a low life that she thinks she deserves. It really is sad a person can be that screwed up, but after all the hate, deceit, and lies to cover up what she really thought. It was refreshing to finally hear her say what I suspected all along. I will say, going no contact felt good for a bit, but I would encourage anyone who is dealing with a partner who has been unfaithful and you suspect it as a mental illness to talk to them when they start seeking therapy. We are still proceeding with the divorce, and she has agreed to amicably split up assets instead of drawing out a long court case, which is better for both of us. The last 2 months of my life have been an emotional and mental hurricane, but I am glad for her and me that this happened when it did. It is helping her finally seek therapy and helping me realize the ticking time bomb I was dealing with. I do truly hope the best for her, and besides this wild episode, she was an incredible person. If I had done anything differently in this whole thing, I would have gotten her into a therapist the moment she started having all these symptoms. But if you haven't dealt with mental illness, you can't know. Hopefully this situation will force her to get the help she needs, and she can become stable again. But right now I can only provide the opportunity, but she has to take advantage of it. Update. Why is it so hard to tell people about what happened? The title says it all. I just hate telling people that she cheated on me and that I'm getting divorced. Don't get me wrong, it is necessary to tell some people, and I feel great support afterwards, but it is really difficult to talk about all that she did to me. Does anyone else feel the same way? Deep down inside, I just want to transfer the knowledge of what happened to everyone's brains. And I know some people have probably caught on to the fact we aren't living together, aren't in any social media pics, etc. I'm not really worried about what people will think because they know my character. However, it is just such an awkward conversation to have. Does anyone have advice for how you told people after you found out about the infidelity? The best way so far has been me telling a few people and then letting them tell other people. But in that case, I don't know who knows and who doesn't. It's just a weird situation to be in, and I'm hoping to be done with the divorce soon so I can move on. Update. Karma. I'm finally starting to recover. Alright, so a big part of my story has been the dog we share. About 2 weeks ago, I let her take care of our dog, and honestly, I just needed a break. I work full-time, and our dog was really struggling with his separation anxiety, and I was too. Anyways, she recently returned our dog back to me full of fleas and asked if I would watch him again. Of course I said I would, but we had a good conversation that followed this. If you remember from my story, she cheated on me with her flight instructor, and I was financially and educationally supporting her in her flying since I'm already a pilot. I had my suspicions that her rationale for cheating was that she began struggling to fly, and her instructor likely said something along the lines of, "You should pay more so you can fly more often," because she asked me for more money to fly more often, mind you. She was already flying 3 hours a week, $750 a week. I'm sure when I put my foot down and said it wasn't the right move for our family, she decided she could just sleep her way into free lessons. Anyways, she told me I was controlling, manipulative, and a narcissist for not spending more money so she could achieve her dream. Childish, right? Fast forward to our discussion last Friday. I asked her how flying is going. She says she quit flying because it's too expensive and she needs to get my mind right. So she gave up on the entire reason she destroyed our marriage. And I have my suspicions that her and App are not seeing each other anymore either, because she mentioned that she is currently staying on a pull-out bed in a house with 6 people and 2 dogs. She is staying with one of her coworkers who is 40-something and living with her parents after also recently getting divorced. In 2 short months, my wife went from having an incredible life where she didn't have to work, had a husband that financed her flight training, and our own airplane we could fly whenever and wherever, to living in a house with 6 other people and working a job where she can barely get by. Another dream that she gave up on was becoming a flight attendant at a major airline. She was actually called back to work in July and declined that opportunity. I asked her if she had reconsidered, but I have a lot of friends who work at the airline, and she said she wouldn't feel comfortable if she ran into them while working. She still is without remorse, and I think she still believes I caused her to do all this, but reality is hitting, and it is striking her heart. I've encouraged her to seek mental help without her lashing out at me, and we have agreed to amicably come to a divorce agreement outside of the court. So things are looking up for me in this situation. It was my birthday yesterday, and I am really lucky to have great family and friends who wish me the best and have been there for me throughout this. The funniest thing W said to me was, "You can keep all our mutual friends." She knows she messed up big time and is embarrassed to be around people who will know what she did. I'll move across the country in a little over a month for the military, and hopefully we'll be starting a great new life. I just hope my sister gets the treatment she needs because she is falling into an unrecoverable tailspin. So last week, I found my STBXW new password for all her accounts. I was feeling particularly lonely today and was about to go try and sign in her accounts, but I had the mental clarity to say, who cares? She is not mine anymore. She broke my trust. Why do I care what she does? It was tough, but I think I am finally starting to have more good days than bad days. Don't get me wrong, I still care about her, and I know I was deeply in love with her, but I am learning to let go, and it really helps. This is definitely a process, but I am proud of this small step. Update. I have seen a therapist a couple of times, and I wanted to share some of the deep revelations I have started having about my discard and post-breakup. For reference, my therapist strongly thinks my STBXW has borderline personality disorder BPD. Here is the sequence of events of what happened. March 2021. I find out there is a job opportunity across the country, and I asked her if she would be okay with this move. She was totally on board, and I thought excited. This was unexpected and very sudden, but a great opportunity for me. Shortly after, I had a week-long work trip to California. Because of her trust issues, I always agreed to text her often and be in contact constantly while on my work trips. But this one seemed strange. She didn't really respond as much and seemed distant when I reached out red flag #1. I didn't think anything of it until I found out. She had booked a hotel room and a campground for 2 people while I was gone. Yep, the discard had begun May 2021 she kept. Starting an argument that didn't make any sense to me, she kept asking me for more money to fly more often at her flight school. She already was getting 3 hours of flight time per week. I didn't understand why, because she was doing fine and reaching her goals. Also, she didn't contribute financially to the family, so this would have to come out of my paycheck. Red flag, #2 June 2021. She was taking trips out of town almost every weekend, and I found that she had started to have long phone conversations late at night with her new source, her flight instructor. She became incredibly distant as well, and didn't do any of the tasks around the house I had to cook, clean, do laundry, wash dishes, take out trash, everything. She also mentioned in a couple small group at our church about how we almost called off our wedding a couple years back. I was like, we did it. Was like she was trying to justify the fact that we should be together anymore to everyone, and that there were long-standing problems we never talked about having to call off our wedding. She was rewriting our history. Red flag 3. July 2021. This is when everything unraveled. 4th of July weekend, I sat down with her, and part of our couple small group was to affirm the other person. She had missed the previous small group, so I said we could do the affirmation exercise at home. I told her all the great qualities I loved about her, and that she was respected, loved, and valued as my partner. We then talked some more after that, and I eventually told her that I didn't feel loved or cared for lately in the past few weeks. All her typical love languages had dried up, and she really didn't show me anything. She got defensive and sad and turned it around on me, saying if only I paid more for her flight training, she would feel more love towards me. Huge BPD red flag. For she also reassured me that she will always love me and that I shouldn't feel unloved. Mid-July is when she broke and left home, and I was left to take care of all the responsibilities while she took a mental break from reality. You can read more about that debate here. August 2021, I found out about her affair with her flight instructor. I confronted her about it. She had no intention of handling the situation like an adult and stormed away, blocked me on everything. Then I served her with divorce papers. She had already discarded me, but this triggered her BPD rage even more because I had foiled her plan to slip away unnoticed with her new man. While I flailed aloof, she did all the things you would expect. Talked to the cops, called my work, and used the dog as a reason to contact me at the time. If I knew she had BPD, I would have probably been better prepared, but her actions post-divorce service were so childish and immature, and I found out so much about her family and her mom's possible BPD that everything is now making sense and coming to light. September 2021, I see her a couple of times while transferring the dog. She has stopped flight training. This was her whole reason for divorcing me, that I wasn't supporting her flying. However, I never stopped her from flying. Now she realizes she can't do it without my support. I keep my boundaries and distance around her because she is a Toxic individual October 2021. I am in a much better space now. I have incredible friends and family who have really helped me through the worst period of my entire life. I am moving soon without her. And the divorce will be finalized soon, so I can move on into my new life. I wanted to write this as a cradle to. Brave example of a BPD, discard, and typical traits of someone like this. They will lie to you, make up arguments not based in reality, and gaslight the hell out of you. I spent months trying to understand what I was doing wrong and why she was acting this way until I started talking to a therapist and journaling things down. This disease is horrible, and I am now uncovering ways she has manipulated me in our relationship and the love bombing phase. It's clear she tried to hide her BPD many times throughout our past, but this couldn't go on forever. This divorce is for the best, and thank God I am getting out before anything worse happens. Update. It's been a while since I 27M last posted an update on my situation, but I have finally been able to move from Florida to California and start fresh. One of the things I have really been reflecting on is the destructiveness of her 29F infidelity. We had an awesome house in Florida with a dog in a great neighborhood. She decided to blow all of that up, and now she is living in a crappy house that her parents bought her in a worse area of town and with a much lower quality of life. I am currently living with a roommate in California until I find out what happens with the divorce settlement. I finally realized it wasn't worth discussing the divorce settlement as she would initially want to come to an agreement, then would back out and decide to trust her lawyer and ask for $120,000 after being married for 2.5 years. It was all very frustrating and unproductive for me because I was, again, trying to believe that she was her former loving self, not this vitriolic, deceitful, and lying person. I'm now able to spot the lies and manipulation much easier now. I have realized it isn't worth putting myself in that position anymore. My hope is that we can settle at mediation in December, but I am even skeptical of that coming to a conclusion. Now I really appreciate all the help I have received from this group. I never wish what I have had to go through on any person. My STBXW went from an incredible person who I loved deeply to a shadow of her former self who is a liar, cheater, and very angry person on. Fortunately, the other day, one of my friends showed me her Facebook, which I am blocked on, and she has been posting passively and aggressively about emotional abuse and how you just have to leave the relationship when you were being emotionally abused. This is the exact opposite of who I was in our relationship, and it hurt deeply to see that, especially since she never once told me I was emotionally abusive or even communicated that she had any issues with me. I've come to realize that she is rewriting our history to others, all the more reason to go no contact. I wish I never would have seen what she has been posting. It really hurt me deeply, but I won't let it keep affecting me now that I know more about who she truly is. All the time sitting with her when she was emotional over little things and listening to her issues while trying to calm her down are now worthless. She never was going to change. She has a personality disorder that will never get better unless she decides to get help. I don't know what the future will bring, but I know this chapter in my life will soon be closed and I can move forward into the next one. If anyone is dealing with someone like this, get out ASAP. They have the emotional maturity of a 4-year-old project their problems onto you and are unable to accept the responsibility of their actions. When the snake bites you, you don't keep your hand in the cage. Update. My life has changed dramatically in the last 6 months post California, and I have consistently gotten angrier and angrier at what she did. Now I'm not really blaming her BP anymore, but more realizing how fallen of a human being she is. After some time and reflection, I came to see how terrible, deceitful, and traumatizing her behavior was to me. But after crying and being sad for a couple months, I got my airplane back and started doing things I enjoy. I flew across the country with my dad, spent a few days in Vegas with some friends, did some snow skiing, and began a new job. I could finally enjoy life again. And in December, a weight was lifted as we finally came to a divorce agreement through remediation. While I'm not ecstatic about having to pay her money, it's a small price to pay to remove her toxicity from my life forever. Do I still have nightmares? Yes. Do I still cry and be sad sometimes? Yep. But this experience has really strengthened my faith and helped me reconnect with real true friends and family who deserve my time. And remove someone who used and abused me. The biggest surprise came this week. I found out I got selected to start pilot training. I couldn't believe it and had tried and failed multiple times before, but the perseverance has paid off. I don't know what my life has in store next, but I know this relationship divorce was a major hardship to prepare me for better times ahead. I say all this to hopefully inspire people who are going through hell right now that there's a reason why you're going through it, and eventually life does get better. I can't thank everyone on here enough for the support and encouragement through my toughest days. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe, to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.